Tell us something about Killer Mike outside of Killer Mike.
Michael.
Who is, no, not the album. Don't you try it. Don't you try it. Don't you try it.
It's all right there in the album.
Tell me, fuck that. Tell me something about Michael, the person. What does Michael enjoy doing outside of music if you have free time?
Collecting art and toys. Like I nerded out on your art here.
Thank you.
I collect art. I collect toys. I take pictures of toy cars. I'm friends with the president of Hot Wheels. That's like
you build them?
No, I used to do the model cars when I was a kid. I have two dads. I have a bio and a non-bio dad. And my non-bio dad's a toy collector and stuff. So he's always allowed and encouraged that. So, but yeah, I like toys.
They get along?
Yeah, of course they do. They both love my mama. They better get along.
That part.
Yeah,
that part.
My mama was
Straight
a bad broad.
I was about to say, she made it, yo.
But you know what? I respect and admire those men because, having grown up, I'm not willing to share my kids. Like, we tried that experiment with my youngest daughter. Her mom got married and shit. I was really cool with him and shit. Tried to be all inclusive. He was weird. I like him a lot. He was coached my youngest son in football, but he never just fell out of wind. Like, we raising this little girl together. So when they got divorced, I was like, don't worry, champ, I got this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Back to just me and her. Because I don't like to share like that. But so I admire both my fathers and that my grandparents raised me. They were both involved in my life, and they were always respectable and talked highly of each other. They never talked down each other. They never put each other down in front of me, and there was always, my mama could be hell, boy. Lord knows they had to have patience to deal with her. So they loved her so much that they poured into me, and I appreciate, Anthony and Michael. Thank y'all. Y'all my guys.
Yesterday when we spoke, you spoke about your upbringing being very different from most rappers.
Yeah.
And so therefore your views coming in. Can you speak to that again, please?
Yeah, I grew up, I didn't understand till I started talking nationally how unlike the rest of black people in this country my life has been. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, which you guys think start a lot of time popping with Freaknik or with LaFace Records. Atlanta's had a black middle class and rich niggas, to be honest, 120 years.
Yes, they have.
Alonzo Herndon, Herman Russell, John Wesley Dobbs. I could literally just name a litany of people that literally were the highest of the high in America in terms of influences. Vernon Jordan. When you start looking at, even on the conservative side, Herman Cain, when you start looking at a black child whose all his heroes and villains look like him. If my grandparents are arguing over politics, it wasn't all white folk won't let her have. My granddad was like, this nigga got control of this budget, Betty. And my grandmother be like, well, I'm still gonna vote Democrat. And my granddad was like, fuck them all. You know what I mean? I grew up in a world that felt fair because my schools were black, my teachers were black. They went to black universities and colleges. They expected nothing but excellence out of us. I went to a school named for Frederick Douglass High School, put me on the pathway straight to Morehouse. Didn't have 3 white teachers my whole life. Didn't live under white rule my whole life. When our white folks got money in Atlanta, that's definitely capitalism and politics work hand in hand. But they worked in a way that since Maynard Jackson say, hey, I'm mayor of the city, you want to do business with the city, you got to have 29% black participation ownership. All of a sudden, the bakery me and my grandma used to go to, the lady that worked there became the 30% owner of the bakery. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh shit, like this is how this works. So I just grew up in a place where the possibilities for black children were endless. Now you understood that class was an issue. I knew I didn't have the money, say the Russells had, but I got the same education because I went to the same high school. And I knew if I applied that education, I would be the Herman Russell of my family. You get what I'm saying?
That was my next question. Are you, because you come from all of that, are you breaking any generational curses?
No, because I don't have generational curses. My great-grandparents were sharecroppers that saved enough money. I just got the deed. My aunt sent it to me. 1948, they bought a 30-acre farm. That farm is still in our family. I don't say that generational curse shit because it'd be an insult to my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather that worked their ass off to leave us something.
Talk about it.
So the little $500 check that the lumber company might send us in January, that ain't no curse. I just split that little $500, $125 per child, put in their accounts. That's not a curse. My grandparents, we still own both the houses they own. I just bought my daughter a house behind my sister, so she lives in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. I don't accept the curse because there is no curse. There's opportunity. Does fucked up shit happen? Absolutely.
Kanye should have said it this way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I don't, I
He should have
don't
said it
comment
this
on
way.
Kanye. God bless his soul. You know,
exactly.
But in terms of me and how I view my life, what I see is endless opportunity. That does not mean I don't have challenges. That does not mean that I haven't walked through some valleys. But man, the peak of this mountain is beautiful, but I already see the next mountain. And to get to the next one, I got to crawl back down in another valley and then crawl back up. I ran from religion. And I returned in a lot of ways spiritually to the lessons my grandmother wanted me to get young. And when I study characters, Jesus is one of the most amazing characters. Real or not, whether you believe in terms of revolutionary love, he told his homeboys, man, I got to go fast and pray, man. His boys are like, man, we coolin', we with you, dog. And then they went to sleep. They kicked it. So he up here, he by himself. He hungry, he in the desert. And the devil pop up and say, man, what's up, man? You ain't got to do this shit. All these lame ass motherfucking folk, they ain't really believing you anyway. I mean, they gonna kill you. Man, just let me give you the world. And he holds fast to the mission. And the mission is simply to be nailed to a cross on the behalf of sins that's not even committed. And the last person he chooses to save is a self-confessed thief being killed next to him by the state. That is such a powerful message. Dare I not have the faith to push through hard times? Why would I complain? Why would I complain to God? How much of an insult would that be to my grandmother, who was educated in the deep, dirty rural South? How much of an insult would that be to my grandfather, who had to drop out of school in 3rd grade to raise his sisters and help his mother by working in a sawmill? What kind of disrespect would that be to my mother, who graduated with me on her hip at the same high school that I graduated from? And they tried to push her out, say, go have the baby and come back, and she walked proud through the halls. I just don't have it in me. And I'm not saying that hard times ain't coming. I'm not saying that hard times ain't gonna beat you down, but hard times will shape you and make you, man. It take a fire to bend metal. It takes steel to sharpen steel. So I just don't accept that hard times not supposed to come. They gonna come.
Has anybody ever told you that you could, you should be a preacher?
Don't
Because
do that. Don't do that.
I mean, I feel like because I'm looking
I'm
at
saying,
everybody's.
preacher, I think you should be my GPS voice. I'm so ready to run through a wall right now. Where's some white folks at? Where are these white New Yorkers? God damn it.
But
I'm ready to go.
Literally, I'm looking at everybody, and everybody's just sitting here like nodding and shaking their head. And you are a captivating, prolific, or you are an orator.
Where you learn how to do that shit? Big boy, who taught you how to talk like this?
Betty Cluntz, my grandmother,
My
Miss Betty,
grandmother,
who they
grandfather.
call Miss Betty.
That's why the generations fucked up. Niggas ain't got grandparents no more. Niggas ain't got no big nana.
Miss Betty
Niggas
said,
ain't got nanas
Nigga,
no
they
more.
grandparents 40.
That ain't nana. That ain't big nana.
I don't want no problem.
That ain't big nana.
Betty was 44 when I was born, but
Huh?
she would say, "Boy, you anointed," and I'm like, "Mom, I don't want to, I don't want to be anointed, Mom. I want to smoke. We can go to the Blue Flame." and she said, and she would say to me, "You can't run from God.
Can't run from it.
You can't keep running from God." And I didn't know what she meant, but I knew I was running. I was like a prodigal son. I was just out in the world. I was out hanging, man. I was rapping it, and I remember our last conversation. We were on our way to Michael's. Michael was 5 years old. We were on our way to a Black History event they were doing at her pre-K, and her mom was married at the time. She said, my grandmother said, why don't you let her husband adopt Michael? And I said, what the fuck you talking about? I don't curse her. What the fuck you talking about? Why don't you say that to me? And we went back and forth, and I felt like, and I understand that was her last test of me. And she said, after our conversation, did I hurt your feelings? I said, yeah. And this is something she never said, these two words. I'm sorry. She usually would say, I beg your pardon. Or if your feelings hurt, too bad. But we were walking up a hill. They wouldn't let us drive up the hill. We were walking up a hill, and she looked at me, and she looked past me, and she saw something. I could see in her eyes, she saw something. She looked back at me, and she smiled, and she hugged me, and she left. Now, I had been fighting like hell to get my career going. And after she left, it has never stopped. And that's when I understood, like, she was in commune with God, and she was right. Like, I have a purpose. I don't know what it is, but I know God has a purpose for me. I'm on a journey towards that purpose, and I don't know where the journey is taking me, but I know I'm on one. So I had to accept that my grandmother was right. I can't run from God. God has some purpose for my life. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers or no, but I know that I'm leading a purpose-filled life. And I wish I could call it.
You gonna make me go to an Atlanta church.
Nah, that should be. Yo, you got a calling on your life. You got a calling. You be like,
got a call.
Yo, go ahead with that.
You know, and what's
like,
crazy though is, you know, I've heard it, and now you just have to accept that God knows.
New Joe Budden.